ऑडियंस को फुल लिखना। हाँ जो
तो इसको ब्लो अप कर देगा तो फिर नहीं दिखेगी। ना
नहीं लेकिन ओवरऑल स्टार्ट ही हो जाएगा ना, फिर रुका नहीं सकता। वो रिकॉर्डिंग टाइम भी करता हुआ हम लोग ना अराउंड 55 को ही शुरू करते हैं एंड वी टेल देम
चालू नहीं है ना। स्क्रीन दिख रहा पूरा तो सिर्फ ये बड़ा फर्स्ट स्क्रीन ही दिख रहा है ना, बाकी कुछ नहीं दिख रहा ना। ठीक है, so when people will log in, they will only see this side. That is, they will know कि भाई सामने वाला log in हो। वैसा ये नहीं होगा ना, no action for 5 minutes और एक तो भाई ऐड मोड के तो दिखेगा, ये डिस्कनेक्ट करके आ जाए। ठीक है,
ये
ऑडियंस
सॉरी
तो सिर्फ वॉइस का ध्यान रखना या फीस का ध्यान रखना, अरे कटवट हो रहा है कि नहीं। क्वेश्चन अभी हमको मुझे आंसर तो करना नहीं है, but we will read out it at the end, and then question by question we will decide कि क्या तो उसको रिप्लाई करना है कि we will get back to you later या उधर देख क्या स्पीड में जा रहा है। नहीं नहीं ज्यादा नहीं, इधर जो ऐसे ऊपर नीचे कर देगा तो कोई लॉग इन किया रहेगा तो उसको भी दिखेगा इसके अंदर। अपने को एटेंडेंस लिस्ट पे ध्यान रखना है ना। नहीं नहीं, क्वेश्चन से स्टोरी कुछ करना था नहीं। हाँ वो कर लो भाई। हेलो 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 और बाकी सबका जो भी लॉगिन होगा उसका, और जो भी लॉगिन करेंगे उसको व्यू ओटीपी करना है ना तेरे को।
वो मेरे को
अच्छा अपना ही बंदा कोई तो अपने ही बंदे जिग्नेश ने लॉगिन किया। हाँ, How do I see? How do I see आवाज जा रहा है नहीं जा रहा है? अच्छा तभी समझेगा. 1 2 3 करके डाला है ना. ठीक है. इससे सेम ऑर्डर और तभी का तभी रिजल्ट भी दिखा रहा है.
एक्चुअली चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Correct, correct. Can you talk within half an hour or so? Because I'm in the middle of something. Sure, sure. Call me after 5 o'clock. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. Yeah. वो मैसेज ऑटोमेटिक कर देते हैं. सॉरी. पोल कभी रहने वाला है?
फर्स्ट स्लाइड में है. स्लाइड में कुछ है और फिर 14 स्लाइड.
हाँ. सर कॉल कर लेते हैं ना. और नीचे की कटोरी लगे चेक कर ओके ओके चेक कर तो असावा का स्टूडेंट फिक्स कॉल करते हैं ओके दूसरा कितने का
किलो
57 57
छोड़ दिया था
अब साफ करके उनको बोलो अच्छा लेकिन
तो मुझे दिख रहा है ना तो ये वाला बॉक्स है वो सीधे स्क्रीन में
तो अंदर गया प्रॉब्लम
अपने
नहीं
नहीं अपने
अपना है
महिलाओं ने है ना अपने जब तक बाहर के बंदे नहीं होता है तब तक चालू करने की कोई फायदा नहीं है अब स्टार्ट करेंगे क्या करेगा
कुछ कर रहा काम
है नहीं तो कम से कम एक 5-6 लोग आ गए तो दिन पॉइंट दिन स्टार्ट अपने 4 बंदे क्या स्टार्ट करें ऐसा भी हो सकता है ना कि 10-15 नहीं इवन बजाज अलायंस में 5 जने एक जन भी ज्वाइन कर दिया और वो स्क्रीन पे प्रोजेक्ट करके बैठ गया तो बाकी 4 तो रिजेक्ट आएगा नहीं बट सुनेगा 5 जन D6 ओके अजय कंट्रो ये एक है ऑल स्टेट क्या अभी इसको कुछ बोलना है तो now what do we just tell him कि wait for 5 more minutes
chapter I guess from but
ये नहीं दिख रहा ना हमको। ये तो ठीक है, तो कर 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 अप्रूव कर। ये कौन है?
ये अपने टॉमो को दिखा है
ये और से देंगे को मतलब तो एक मैसेज स्टार्ट another 2 minutes and 5 minutes maximum. Hi. English. Skill for the body. Okay.
उनको मैसेज आ गया
खुला है बैठेंगे तो आएगा तो दिख गया बात हो गया तो ये बात है फाइल तो बंद हो जाता है 4:15 को 4:10 को स्टार्ट 10 मिनट बोला ना आगे नहीं तो फायदा कुछ
काफी लोग मैसेज भी करते हैं तो स्कोर मतलब फिर वो रजिस्टर करेंगे फिर आएंगे 420 तक एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे।
तो देखिए
नहीं कोई आए नहीं रे बाहर का भेज वाला दो ही लोग
नहीं दो ही लोग आगे तो अपने बंदे जाएंगे जिग्नेश है रोहित है नामित है सुमित झा कौन है हाँ, चलिए बोलते हैं
आएगा बहुत टाइम हुआ है
वो कटा देना जाके आने से चल चल तू तेरे कान लगा लिए सुनते होते हैं अनवन होने का तो Hi friends, thanks everyone for being a part of this webinar session. Before we start the same, let me introduce myself. Me, Jiju George. I head the campaigns management hub at Ansas Equity. We are a MarTech firm with 300 plus strength across 4 metros, working in the field of consulting and campaign management. This session will be 30 to 40 minutes long, and we will follow the same hub with a Q&A session. So hope we are now ready to start off the day's webinar session. Let's start with a small poll. How many of you consider campaigns important for your organization? I hope you have answered the question. Wow, just let's have a look at the result. Oh, 100%. Good. All of you feel the need for a good campaign management hub. Now, some of the questions that we always ask ourselves: why do we want campaigns? Is it necessary for my line of business? Do I need it? There are many reasons as to why you may want it: competition, improved conversion, cross-sell, upsell to increase income, more value out of the customers, better value for money spent. To build and execute campaigns, we need a setup, a campaign management hub. A campaign management hub is just not about executing some campaigns. It has many other components involved, with the execution of campaign being one of the last steps involved in the process. Let's go through the steps involved in creation and execution of campaigns. Now, the steps mentioned in the following slides are not in any particular order of priority or importance. Every step is important in its own way. Let's go to the first step, ideation. This stage involves the germination of the campaign. This is more 30,000 feet above ground. Here, we need not get into specifics. Ideas should be linked to your strategy. If your strategy is that instead of focusing only on new customers, you want to extend your relationship with existing customers and increase your wallet share, then ideas should also revolve around campaigns. Here, the who becomes the existing customer. What becomes the program you would want to do for them, or the offers that you would want to offer them, and why is more linked to the strategy to get more out of them. The next step is data exploration. This step does not involve actual extraction or massaging of any data, but is just a cursory check to ensure that you have the relevant data to run this campaign. For example, you need to have a promotion at a store for a select set of customers. However, if you do not have the transaction data with the store code and the customer details in it, or you do not have a clean email ID or mobile number, this campaign may not even take off. If an organization has no data to fall back on, for example, maybe a startup, they can make use of data from external sources, which would be more unstructured in could be an Excel, could be a Word file. With unstructured data, we can execute campaigns. However, we will face difficulty in mapping responses back and using the same in future campaigns. Storing the same becomes a difficulty. Scaling the operations up is certainly an issue. Size limitation is another factor. We will have to work towards converting unstructured data into a structured format, which will help us study data more efficiently and execute campaigns on a regular basis. The third step is the campaign plan. Here we work more on the campaign plan that we have envisaged during the ideation stage. There we decided to communicate to existing customers. Here, you may decide to fine-tune the base. Maybe only those customers who have visited us in the last 3 months, or maybe only those customers with purchases over ₹X. Now here, the what will be refined and exact communication content will be defined. What do you want the message to exactly convey? Is there any offer involved? How to convert that into an email or an SMS line is part of another process, which we will speak later on. Now in this step, we add the when and the how. When is when do you exactly want to contact the customer? On a weekend, Friday evening, Saturday morning, 1 day prior to festival, 5 days prior to festival, any reminders to be sent at what frequency, and how will define the channels to be SMS, email, telecalling, mobile app, and so on. Here, analytics plays a very important role in deciding the who, what, when, and how. No fun in doing campaigns if we cannot measure the success of these campaigns. To measure success, we need to first set the parameters on which we plan to measure. Response and conversion are two parameters on which a success can be measured. Now, what is response? Response is nothing but a measurement of the efficacy of the channels that you have used. Did the channel that you use to manage to convey the required message to the customer? For example, for an SMS channel, did the message even get delivered? How many messages were left undelivered? Similarly, for email, how many messages got delivered? How many got opened? Since if the emails are not even opened, then the communication didn't do you any good. Conversion is nothing but a result of call to action. So if the customer was communication was intended to make the customer purchase product, conversion rate is nothing but how many customers purchased. It's a final success criteria. If there was no monetary benefit, then why do that campaign in the first place? Now, having said that, not necessarily that every campaign will have a response and conversion metrics. Some informatory campaigns may only have response as a success criteria. For example, in the current scheme of demonetization, many SMS messages were sent out. For such messages, you may not have a conversion criteria, but may only be interested in delivered or open. Another tried and tested way of measuring success is the test versus control methodology. Now, if I to just take that a little more in detail, test versus control is a very simple methodology. Keep 10% of your base out of any communication and communicate to the balance 90%. And measure response and conversion of test against the response and conversion of the control base. The lift that you will get is a clear indication of whether your communication has worked or not. I hope I'm very clear in what I'm saying till now. This is more a one-time activity. Once you have integrated all the channels, you are done with this process. Let's take one more point. In your organization, which is the most used channel? Okay. And what does our result show? Email and SMS. Now, the number of channels at your disposal will depend on the business that you are doing. And as the poll showed, email and SMS are the most common ones. Some may have a mobile app, some may not. Some may have a CRM, some may not. Banks have ATMs. Some may want to route their communication through a call center, while some may use social media as means. In one of the previous slides, we saw that we need to have a measurement criteria decided even before we start the campaign. Whatever the channel, we will need to integrate it once. Integration is to ensure that information flows both ways, from the marketing tool to the channel and the responses from the channel into the tool. We need to integrate the channels back with the campaign management tool so that the responses and conversions flow back in an automated manner into the database that we have. And the same can be used seamlessly for executing future campaigns. Another important step. Offers may be a part of the communication or may not be a part of the communication. It's not essential for all communication. But if they are, then this step is a very important step. Don't give a gift, it's fine. But if you promise a gift and then don't deliver on promise, this campaign will cause you more harm than any benefit. So if you have an online gift voucher as an offer for a particular transaction, you will have to ensure that the tie-ups with the online partner is so tight that there should not be any difficulty in the customer redeeming their gift, or the quality of gift cannot be compromised. This is also one step that can be taken in greater details in a later on session. However, just emphasizing on the importance of analytics in the campaign management. Homogeneous segments are created within a customer base with customers with like behavior or demographic clubbed together. Once the same is done, analytical solutions can be proposed at various levels. Segment level, where you analyze the characteristics of the homogeneous segments created, namely key product types purchased or periodicity of purchases or brand preferences or average ticket size. And this could be translated into various campaigns like promotional campaigns or basket increase campaigns or wallet share increase campaigns. Second is at customer level, where you can classify existing portfolio basis their behavioral and demographic characteristics. Behavioral could be recency, number of months since last transaction, or latency, which could be average difference between two visits, or number of invoices, or rate of change in spends. Demographics could be age, gender, locations. This information can be used for building propensity value for customers, multi-stage customer retention campaigns, and so on. And the third level could be category level. Here, segmentation can be done at a product category level. Key categories that are purchased or spent by subcategory or average ticket sizes per category. This will help in building campaigns to promote specific brands or specific categories. This is a stage where the what, which we discussed during the ideation and the campaign plan stage, is actually converted into words and images. Catchy SMS lines are created, eye-catching email creatives are created. This can be taken in detail in a separate session. However, basic stuffs. For example, SMS. The SMS line should have a clear call to action. The message should not be vague that post a customer reading the message, you should not wonder as to what needs to be done with this message. Another good practice is taking the linguistic route, and this route is now virtually gathering steam. Also ensure that your SMS base is scrubbed against the NDNC registry before broadcasting. Two benefits for it. One, you will be able to save on some money by not broadcasting to these customers. Second, in case a customer complains, you will spend a lot of time in fighting that case, and if not successfully defended, can get slapped with a fine also. For email, again very briefly, subject line is the most important component. Subject line decides whether your email gets opened or not. To filter out unnecessary and irrelevant messages, most people spend just a fraction of a second evaluating email subject fields. If the subject field doesn't immediately capture their attention, they move on to the next message in their inbox, even though the main body of the email can contain information that is valuable and useful in that business. Now, there's another way of ensuring that the best creative goes to the customer. The methodology is called A/B testing. You take 100% of your base, split it into three parts, two 10% and one 80%. Send out different communications to the first 10%. Track the response over a period, and whichever creative gives you a better response, send it to the balance 80% of the base. This is a methodology that is usually followed when we do a new campaign, or when we are not yet sure as to which creative works best for your campaign. In this step, here you will have a detailed look at the data points. You may have all the data points, but spread across multiple tables, maybe even across different databases across the organization. We may even not have access to all the databases. When we start the actual execution, we may face difficulty in accessing all the tables. So maybe before we start our campaign execution, we may want to bring all the data under one roof. If you need to access any transaction data in a summarized format, we can roll up the values and store the same in a variable. For example, if you want to look at customers who have transacted in the last 3 months, and this is one of the regular conditions that you use in most of your campaigns, instead of hitting the huge transaction table always in a campaign, which could also take up execution time, we could roll up all the transaction history at a customer level, which has one variable, transacted in last 3 months, yes or no. Use this summarized version of transaction table for all campaigns. This is just an example. You could have a summarized table of customer ID, number of transactions in the month, amount spent in the month. Such tables can also be a customer's single view. where we have one consolidated view of the customer along with his transactions. This could be used for executing campaigns, which will save the processing time to a great extent. Here is when the rubber meets the road. All the steps followed till now is now being converted into final action. Actual building of campaigns on a campaign management tool happens now. Configuration of SMS line, email creative with the final data set happens here. Before we on the quality check aspect, let us take a quick poll to find out your views on the importance of quality check. Wow. All of you believe that's one of the most important aspects when you do a campaign. But actually, this is one of the most neglected part of any campaign management. Now, the counter argument is, what is the chance of errors happening? Sub 1%? It's okay. We are okay with this level of accuracy. But have you thought what's the effect if wrong communication goes, wrong offers go, it's always better and safe to invest extra in that quality control rather than letting any erroneous campaign find their way into social media and you run the risk of reputational loss. This is the last step in the process and can also be the first step for the next campaign measurement. As we have discussed in the previous slide, we now actually track the campaigns and figure if we have got our money's worth. Is every rupee well spent? And the learning that we gather out over here can become the fodder for the next campaign. So if we summarize whatever we have seen till now, you can say data available at your end, that is customer information, transactions, and so on, which then can be loaded into a structured table. Data can be further cleaned up. Large data can be transformed into summarized versions. Data can be further enriched. All these activities will help us create a single view or a campaign data mart or a summarized transaction data mart. On this data mart, various types of analytics can be run, and the output of this analytical work on the data is then used to extract the basis for campaign, develop process flow, and execute the same. During the campaign preparation stage, there is also creative inputs that go into campaign development stage. And once the base is ready, execute it through various channels. And with the data flowing both ways, sponsor agenda is also part of the campaign. And let us see this entire scheme things in 3 aspects, from data integration to analytics to creative solutions, to channel integration, to campaign execution. Thanks, friends. We have come to the conclusion of my presentation. Now it's time for a Q&A session. Please post your questions and I will answer them in the order that I see. Okay, we're going to see one question. Is, do we always have to stick to 10% for control group or can this vary? If we change the percentage, does it affect the measurement or the analysis? Now 10% is just a number. You can decide on what that percentage should be. It should be a statistically valid number. So if you have a base of 1000, 10% is good enough. If you have a base of 100, 10% may still be fine. If you have a base of 1 crore, you will not need 10%. You may actually need only 5%. So actually, whether you have a 10% or a 5% control base, that is entirely left up to you. Oh, another question is, what if a wrong campaign has been done? Now that's a very tricky question, because if a wrong campaign is done, then you can go more on a damage control mode than anything else. So here is where the importance of quality check comes in, to ensure that the damage does not happen at the first place. Because if a wrong campaign has gone, you are only in a damage control mode rather than doing anything else at that point in time. Another question, what role does creative play in campaign communication? Very, very big role. Okay, because if the creative is not good enough, not eye-catching, if the subject lines are not good enough for the customer to even open the email, if the SMS lines are pathetic in the sense people just delete it without reading it, then the benefit of the campaigns won't accrue to you. So getting the right creatives out for campaign is one of the most important legs of this campaign execution. Okay, we have another question coming up. How to identify the best campaign management tool? Okay, the simple way to identify is, what is your requirement? What is your appetite? How big is your base size? What is it that you want to do with the base? So if your base runs into crores, and if you want to do a lot of analytic stuff on that, then we need to have a much more advanced campaign management tool. But if the base is very small, if it's limited base and you need to do basic stuff on that, then even a homegrown tool would be good enough. Now, to decide on which tool to be used, we will have to do a study of the requirement that you have, of the data that you have, of the system that you have, and then we can finalize on which tool to be used. Another question is real-time campaigns possible? Yeah, with the right infrastructure, I think real-time campaign is possible. Okay, so we do have examples of real-time campaign, though we may not term it as campaign. Is when you go to an ATM and when you withdraw money, or when you go and swipe your card, you do get an alert pretty fast. That's real time. So if you have a database that is built up and geared up for real-time data, even real-time campaigns can happen. Okay, this is something that I've taken up before, but still I will repeat it, is what is the role of data in campaign? Can I do a campaign with unstructured data? With unstructured data, yes, you can do campaigns. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But will you be able to scale up? No, we will not be able to scale up. Will you be able to map responses and conversions easily to the data and use it for the next campaign? No, we will not be able to do that. Even the storing of databases will become a problem. How do you securely store an Excel or a Word file? So moving unstructured, so with an unstructured data, we can do campaigns, but always moving that unstructured data to a structured data is the best option now. Okay. Is there any more questions? Okay. So thanks for your valuable time, guys. Thanks, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks. Bye bye.